Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you being here live. We are going to give it just maybe 30 seconds to another minute, let folks filter in for those who want to watch it live. But yeah, appreciate you being here. Stacey and John are off camera currently, but we've already spent the last 15 minutes talking about everything from menu boards to kiosks to Gen Z. So they did try to lobby me to just cancel the webinar so that we could just have a conversation about real operator challenges, I guess. But we're gonna keep with the run of show, and we'll be back here and get things started in the next 30 seconds or so. Just gonna give it about 20 more seconds before we get things rolling. I'll use this opportunity to get a little housekeeping out of the way. If you do have questions for either Stacey or John, there is a little questions button in the dialog box on your bottom right. If you want to drop something in the chat, feel free to do that as well. But we'll basically do 10 minutes of me up front, just talking about Data Assistant and our newest feature. We'll do, maybe a couple minutes on a live demo. The always dangerous tech live demo, but we'll spend a few seconds on that, and then I will kick it over to Stacey and John because ultimately we want to showcase their expertise on how they're leveraging Data Assistant to drive real outcomes in their business. Excellent. Okay, we'll get it rolling. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. I'm Abhinav Kapoor, co-founder and CEO of Bikky. We are a customer data platform built exclusively for restaurants. We work with brands like Bojangles, Dave's Hot Chicken, Long John Silver's, Small Sliders, and of course, the folks joining me, Burgerville and Robeks. I'm Abhinav. I founded the business 8 years ago, had family in the restaurant industry, and my mother-in-law with her restaurant in New York City would do crazy things to understand her guests. She was literally writing down phone numbers off of delivery tablets, off of people's names that she recognized, calling people after her time at the restaurant ended. She would export all her open table data, email people, just seeing if they had a good experience, if they'd come back, there's something she could do better. And I think just seeing her in action got me obsessed with this idea that the whole point of being in the restaurant business is understanding the guests, making them feel welcome, and truly understanding what drives their frequency or what makes them not want to come back to the brand. And it didn't matter, in those early days who I spoke with, whether you were a single unit or thousands of units. Folks seem to consistently struggle with the idea of who is the actual person behind the transaction. And when you think about data in the restaurant industry, historically, it's really only meant two things, right? On the one hand, you have your loyalty program, which maybe is 20%, 10 to 20% of your consumer base, best case, or you have top line sales data. And there's this consistent challenge that we've seen over the years where as operators, you are consistently pulling different levers in the business to grow transactions, to grow frequency, to grow check. And at the end of the day, you're left with these two real extremes, right? Top line sales, which I guess if things go up, if the number goes up, things are working, but you don't know to what extent they're working. Or again, the only known first party customer data that you have, which is your loyalty program, which is naturally probably your most biased source of data, right? These are people that are naturally inclined to be higher frequency with your brand, and they are willing to opt in to your point system, your rewards program, your email or SMS marketing communications. They're willing to give you identifiable data in exchange for being part of that program. At Bikky, what we do is we try to essentially pull in all the other sources of customer data that exist across point of sale, payments, online ordering, loyalty, reservations, Wi-Fi, wherever there's a breadcrumb of data, map the entire customer journey. So when you pull one of those levers to grow the business, again, launching an LTO, running a marketing campaign, opening a new store, instead of just looking at top line sales or that small loyalty base, you're getting up to 90% visibility into the impact of those decisions on traffic, frequency, retention, lifetime value, the things that drive sales in the first place. Now, if I was to zoom out, and you might be saying, what does this have to do with Data Assistant and our newest AI native feature? I think what we've done over the last few years here is built what I would say is the most robust set of dashboards and tools for restaurant operators to answer those kinds of questions around those critical decisions, right? Historically, there's been a lack of data. Bikky has done a great job of bringing that data, and I think serving it in a way that gives teams across marketing, finance, ops, culinary visibility into the impact of some of these decisions. At the end of the day, though, restaurants are insanely cross-functional and insanely busy businesses, right? There's always a fire to put out. There's always a marketing campaign to launch, always a new menu item to serve, always a guest to take care of, always operations to tweak. And what we've found holistically across the board is, something my mother-in-law used to say is, it's hard to work on the business when you're always working in the business. Now, dashboards are a great tool for helping people get that one layer up of visibility into understanding what's driving the business and working on the business. But a lot of times you're in a situation as an operator where maybe you don't have time to pull up the dashboard, and maybe you don't have time to dig through and really understand the nuances of what's driving traffic or top line sales performance. An example that comes to mind is we speak with a lot of marketing and everybody from marketing to finance to technology obviously cares about in-store restaurant performance, about their franchisees or about their store operators. And sometimes the store operator has a question in the moment when you're live with them. And it's hard to just say, you know what, let me open my laptop, let me open Bikky, let me go dig through and let's look through it together. We created Data Assistant as the fastest way for restaurants to understand their sales, menu, and guests. So what that means specifically is using essentially a chat interface, which in the era of ChatGPT and Claude, et cetera, everyone is intimately familiar with, layering that on top of all the Bikky data goodness that we offer, clean, structured, standardized customer transaction and menu item data, and giving you a really accessible, really easy entry point to answer some of these fast questions, right? I think one of my favorite patterns that we see is usage of Data Assistant. And again, this is anecdotal. I don't have firm data behind it, but I sit and I read every single chat that folks put in. There tends to be a little bit of a spike in usage, it feels like, on Sunday nights and Monday mornings, because people are prepping for meetings internally. They're putting their decks together. They want to have data points that talk about the impact of that new menu item or that marketing campaign. And so we just naturally see a lot of chats come through on Sundays and Mondays as people are preparing for internal meetings and debating and thinking about ways to really drive the business forward for the week ahead. And so I think when we think about the value of AI and we think about the possibility of AI coupled with our core as a data platform, the way we think about it is, how do we take restaurants who want to make data-driven decisions but often don't have the time or the resources and so rely on their guts? How do we help them still make those decisions in a form factor that meets them where they are? And it gives them the ability to really access that data in ways that helps them answer important questions, whether it's their own business questions or those of other stakeholders, and really deliver those answers and act on those answers. And so the thing that I'm really excited for today with John and Stacey here is they've had access to Data Assistant for a couple of months now. And what really blew me away when I was speaking with both of them about how they're using Data Assistant is how they went from question to insight to answer to decision insanely quickly. I'm talking about in minutes and hours instead of days and weeks. And so we're really excited to show you some of those really tangible, specific use cases. Before we get to that, I am going to jump in and I do want to show you what Data Assistant actually looks like and how it operates. So I'll share my screen here in a second. For a little bit of context, I used a little bit of AI myself. I basically fed ChatGPT all of our notes from all of our conversations with the restaurant operators over the last 3 months to really pull out the top 3 questions that we see or that we've heard in our conversations with operators. Number 1, what is new guest acquisition per store per week? And as a corollary to that, what percentage of those guests come back 30, 60, 90 days, right? You can think about it, McDonald's as having the golden arches, and underneath that says billions of people served. Most brands, even those that we work with that are doing billions of dollars in revenue, still don't have visibility into how many new customers they are serving on a daily, weekly, monthly, or quarterly basis. So that's typically top of mind for folks. And of course, retention, especially in this current consumer environment, is top of mind for everybody. So acquisition, retention, number 1. Number two, what is the lifetime value or order frequency of my loyalty guests versus my non-loyalty guests? That's a really interesting one, especially in the wake of, and I'll talk about this a little bit more, especially in the wake of digital investments and digital transactions that we've seen post-pandemic. And number three, which I think John and Stacey will have fantastic stories around this, is around the success of different menu items. Jumping into the screen sharing portion here, I'm going to pull up Data Assistant right now. And so here it is. It's a simple chat-based functionality. And like I said, the thing I want to really emphasize here is it can just answer any sort of time-based, fact-based question that you have. So the one I'm gonna pick on here is actually that second one, which is, what is the lifetime value of my loyalty versus, gotta spell loyalty right, loyalty versus non-loyalty guests over the last 24 months. And we'll put that in. Now, the reason I think this question is coming up so often in our conversations is really, as I said, piggybacking off of the significant amount of investment that a lot of brands have put into building their own digital ecosystems, right? You went into this model. I remember hearing it in April 2020. Hey, I don't even see my customers anymore. I'm spinning up online ordering. I'm spinning up apps. I'm spinning up loyalty. I'm collecting data really for the first time. Bikky, can you help me figure out what to do with it? And we're in this mode now where I think we're probably 2-3 years on, where a significant number of multi-unit brands have truly invested in their own digital ecosystems. And they're really starting to think about, what's the ROI of this? They're either getting questions from finance, they're getting questions from the board. They are getting questions from other stakeholders around, I'm putting all this time and money into my loyalty program. Is there any ROI here? So I really think this question of what is lifetime value for loyalty versus non-loyalty guests, what is frequency, is a roundabout way of really trying to understand what is the ROI of my loyalty program. And you can see here, Data Assistant crunched the numbers and gave us a very simple human language, a human language answer, right? So what is lifetime value of loyalty versus non-loyalty guests last 24 months? It's 51.96 for loyalty, while non-loyalty members have average lifetime value of 51.92 over the last 24 months. If I'm looking at this as a marketer, as an operator, Stacey might correct me on this front when she joins the conversation. But for me, that's not significant enough lift. And so that tells me there's potentially a lack of differentiation. There's a lack of compelling offers. There's basically, if the difference in spend is not really there, on average, what we see for a good loyalty program is that the lifetime value is 6 to 8 times higher than a non-loyalty guest, meaning this number should be $300 if this number is around $50. That is typically the good delta that we've seen, when we talk to some of our clients around how they think about the difference in loyalty versus non-loyalty. And Data Assistant is right there. This is a question that operators have been debating consistently for the last 12 months. And with Data Assistant, you don't need to export any spreadsheets. You don't need to crunch any numbers. You don't even need to go look at any Bikky dashboards if you're already a Bikky client. You can just type in the question, get the answer, and keep moving and continue your exploration. Like, how many visits is that on average per month? And then again, Data Assistant will crunch the numbers and continue your analysis and give you the ability again to make a better decision around how to improve the efficacy or impact of your loyalty program. But that's Data Assistant in a nutshell. It's analyzing data right now. I promise I will come back and give you the answer. But at this moment, in the interest of time, I'm going to stop my screen share. And I want to call Stacey Chapman from Burgerville onto the stage here. Stacey, welcome. I think the folks who are watching this are tired of hearing from me and would love to hear a little bit from you. But please, just talk a little bit about yourself, talk about Burgerville, your role there, how long you've been there, why you're in love with the brand, and we'll go from there.
Perfect. Hi, everybody. Great to have everyone here. My name is Stacey Chapman. I'm the Senior Vice President of Digital Strategy at Burgerville. We're a Pacific Northwest company. I'll get into that a little bit more here shortly. My background is primarily in brand, and I spent a big chunk of my career in brand marketing at Nike, sports marketing at Nike. So really understanding like consumer behavior was the critical part of kind of how I orient towards brand and marketing, which is really my accountability. at Burgerville. It's digital strategy, but really it's brand and marketing in the context of digital. I mean, because we just really made a huge shift, and I came here to do digital transformation. So super excited when we met Abby and learned about Bikky, and it actually took Burgerville. It was a couple of years before we were ready. I think all of you can relate to the fact that you pull a platform in too soon and it doesn't get adopted internally, even though it's a fantastic platform. So we, from our experience, myself and our CTO were like, hey, let's wait. The time will be right. We'll know when it's right. And so we've been on board with Bikky maybe 6 months, 4 months.
Yeah, 4 months.
Somewhere
I
in
think,
the 4 to 6. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been super exciting. And I liked hearing the examples that Abby gave because, yeah, that was me as the marketer. Like, we're a small company. I mean, I would say small. We have 42 units. We're corporately held. We're in a growth phase. We have been family owned for the first 64 years of our being. And recently, there's a group of local investors that have come in along with the founding family. We don't really have tons of resources in terms of gaining consumer insights in a very easy way, which is the way I prefer to have them than trying to dig through spreadsheets to try to get to the answer.
Yeah. Amazing. So I'm going to pull up the presentation you shared with me beforehand. Give me 1 second. And then would love for you to share with the folks on the call. Just confirm you can see my screen, right? Stacey, that's for you.
Check. Yep.
Yes. Okay. Excellent. Good. So maybe walk us through again. You talked a little bit about the brand, but maybe talk us through a little bit about Burgerville, about the ethos, and then we will jump into your use case with Data Assistant.
Yeah, like I mentioned, our brand, we actually turned 65 this March, or next March, actually. So, and we've always been family owned. We've always been in the Pacific Northwest. We're primarily in Oregon and Southwest Washington. We're beginning to expand now up into heading more towards the Seattle area, further east as well, in both Washington and Oregon. Our growth, we're a homer to the nth degree. We are all about local. It is truly who we are. Go ahead and go to the next slide.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
And we're fast food. We're burgers, shakes, and fries, as you could see from the image. And that's who we've been from the very beginning. What differentiates us from the competition, whether it's other local brands or the larger enterprise brands, is we're really committed to sourcing local ingredients, which helps us in a myriad of ways. From a sustainability standpoint, we know that's really critical with our consumer, who our food cost and prices are not what you would see at a large national or global chain, because I kind of like to equate it that it's almost as if Whole Foods had a fast food chain. That's the quality of food that we have. It's local ranchers and farmers. We source within 400 miles of our headquarters in Vancouver, Washington, which is just across the river from Portland, Oregon.
Yeah. And this is something that I love. Yeah, that you were sharing with me, kind of the brand map, as you called it, which I think really emphasizes the differentiation you're talking about. Yeah.
One of the key things is always, for me, from a brand standpoint, is what differentiates us from the competition. What can we say that no one else can say? And these are things we can say that very few brands in our category are able to say. Again, we're sourcing right here from the Pacific Northwest. I've been to our strawberry farmers farm several times. We've been to our different ranchers. They've hosted our crew members before, our local producers using really high quality ingredients. But again, you can see some of the attributes of our brand. And I just point out, our commitment to meeting our consumer where they are based on kind of their dietary needs. So when we asked our loyalty members what were the 3 most important things about what they loved most about Burgerville, 1 was food quality, 2 was we were local, And 3 was the fact that we could meet their dietary needs. And as you can see, we do it all here, from plant-based to gluten-free, dairy shakes. We have non-dairy shakes as well. So we've got it all. Everyone in the family can come to Burgerville and find something they would enjoy. The last thing I'll point out here simply is that we do offer breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We do late night as well, but that will come into play here in just one second.
Yeah. Amazing.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead and switch. So at the end of the day, truly what our consumers say is that Burgerville is the only fast food they'll eat. That is just sort of consensus when you talk to folks that come to Burgerville. They do visit other restaurants. When it comes to burger, shakes, and fries, we're their destination because they know high fructose corn syrup. Like it's quite high attribute food, I guess, and fits with their lifestyle. It's very outdoorsy here in the Pacific Northwest. Okay,
Amazing.
let's move on.
And then when we were talking beforehand, you were telling me a lot about breakfast and the breakfast day part. So maybe walk us through a little bit what the challenge was with breakfast specifically. And, go for it.
Perfect. So the assignment from my CEO, we were sitting in, one of our executive meetings, and looked at me and said, okay, listen, we got to do something about breakfast. Like, we got to move this thing. So let's go to the next slide. A little bit of background on breakfast at Burgerville. So we had it for a very, very, very long time, but sales were just dropping. Pandemic hit. All right, we got to save labor. We've got to save as many costs as we can because, like everyone else, we were battling to get through pandemic. We were fortunate that we had just added on third-party delivery probably about 7 or 8, 9 months before pandemic, which really helped save our bacon, no pun intended. So after, like, shortly, right near the end of pandemic, we reintroduced breakfast. So we had a new CEO come in 2021, very savvy in the restaurant business, said, hey, come on, let's give it a go. I think that there's something there for us for breakfast. We reintroduced it in 2021 with a menu that was not necessarily traditionally fast food, but lots of traditional things. It was slow going in the beginning. We thought, okay, we did tons of promotion. So marketing campaigns, we were on TV, we were giving away, in terms of promotions, doing different free items, spend X, get Y, offering free items to our loyalty members, try to get traction. Then came like, hey, let's introduce a new menu, which we just did in June. Great, really yummy new menu. Food's really good. Still only hitting 50% of our sales target, which led to the conversation with the CEO, myself, and our CFO. Like, okay, you two, you got to figure this out. You got to start getting some traffic in there. And so I said, okay, and immediately we were talking about our rewards program because we're adding breakfast items to our rewards program as a way to incentivize folks, to our loyalists in particular, to engage. And at the same time, then it was veering more towards breakfast items and, hey, what if we do a free this, free that? And in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, we've done that already. It didn't really move anything. Is it, and I said to him, what if it's like, are you cool if we're just moving the day part versus all the breakfast items specifically? Because during our breakfast, we do sell all of our core menu as available.
Yeah, your whole menu.
Burger, shakes, and fries.
Yep.
So 7 to 11 is when we serve breakfast. And he's like, fine, we'll do that. But I also wanted to ground it. I needed to ground that. So let's go to the next slide. So I thought, okay, we just got Bikky on board. I'm going to dive into the data AI. I'm never afraid to close my eyes and jump when it comes to this stuff. What's the worst thing that could happen? We find out information one way or another. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to go, because I was participating in our onboarding meetings, but it was a lot of dashboards, and my brain is like, I just want to ask the question. So let me try that. And they had introduced the data AI to us. I'm like, cool, I'm going in. So I started to just ask the kinds of questions that marketers ask, and the kinds of questions that were being asked of me. Well, in addition to sort of popularity of items. I want to know what is consumer behavior. So first things first, I broke down the day part itself. How much of, our orders are breakfast day part orders. So you can see here, like 7% of our total sales were coming from those day part orders.
Yep.
Okay. Well, let's go a little deeper because we already know we're not hitting our targets. That wasn't necessarily new news. But then we were able to I dug into the actual transactions. So 10% of the total transactions were from the breakfast day part. Okay, cool. But how many of those actually included at least one breakfast item? Only 50% of all the transactions. Ding, ding, ding. Opportunity. I mean, I'm not a rocket scientist, thank God. But it was pretty obvious from there. So then it was like, okay, there's opportunity inside this day part because we serve breakfast from 10 to 11. And in knowing our consumers, I was like, oh, yeah, you know what? We have a location in the airport where those employees, by the time it's 10 or 11, it's lunchtime. It might be dinner time for someone. Lots of construction going on around our restaurants in many cases. So the construction guys coming over, they want a big old burger. They want some fries. They already had breakfast when they got to work at like 5 a.m. or whatever time they may have gotten there. So in looking at the different sort of behavior around guest behavior at that time of day, so 13% of the guests had made a purchase during the breakfast day part. Cool. Got it. Okay. So there's guests there. How do we meet them where they are? So in looking at, again, how many of them had purchased at least one breakfast item. And then after that, going deeper, how many have purchased a breakfast item more than once this year?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay. Well, that's good information. We had just
People
redone
are coming
our
to breakfast, but they're not ordering breakfast, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And we just zhuzhed up our breakfast menu. So I thought, okay, what do we do with this data? What's the plan? So let's go to the next slide. Oh, yes, pardon me. Of course, we wanted to see the menu mix, the P mix of things. And it was like, look at that. Our original cheeseburger, which has been around since we started and everyone's people just love it. It has our original spread on it and those kinds of things, but it validates what the Bikky data was telling us in the first place. So it talked about behavior and then it literally got into item level data, which was really helpful and fast and easy to pull, which here is not fast and easy. It takes time to try to gather that information, make sure it's accurate.
Yeah, it's interesting that the first breakfast item is number 4, essentially, on the list.
People love fries.
They do. Yeah.
So again, from all of this data, from the assignment itself, what's the plan? Okay, we got to grow breakfast day part sales. And let's look at this in a way that, again, as a marketer, I love to A/B test. I love to try different things that are rooted back to the data itself, as well as then the qualitative stuff, insights from talking and focus groups and different kinds of things. So what we decided we were going to do is okay, we also felt like there's an potential awareness issue that people don't know that our full menu is available from 7 to 11. That might move some things for us because we've been talking about breakfast for quite some time. So our strategies was to focus on the day part and then generate promotions that you could only basically redeem from 7 to 11. And we looked at featuring core or a breakfast item at a promotional price. We did a 2-part plan. One was there's, in addition to the entire audience loyalty and non-loyalty, in addition to that, we also created a loyalty specific plan. I'm going to focus on the loyalty and non-loyalty plan. It's a slower go because we don't have as many loyalists as we do non-loyalists. Shame on me, but it's true. But so let's go ahead and look at the sort of the offers that we decided to go for. So fish where the fish are. We started out with original cheeseburgers priced at $1.99, and our original cheeseburger is $4.49, I think. Again, high quality. So we decided to start with that. And then we thought, okay, let's go with some beverages. We partnered with Stumptown Brewing Company, coffee roaster. Sorry about that. They're super duper popular, very well known out here in the Pacific Northwest. They have amazing coffee. And we introduced a whole line of BV bevies that have cold foam on the top. We call it Cloud Cream. And we thought, you know what? Most people follow their coffee order. So and I love Starbucks, it's a great brand. It's not like they're a great breakfast. They don't have a kitchen. So they're just heating it up for you. And it's like, okay, cool. But you go to get your hot beverage or cold beverage, whatever you do in the morning, and you'll just go ahead and grab breakfast. People don't want to stop twice. So I thought, okay, we're running this one right now. What we're seeing from this one, just real quickly, is our cold brew sales have doubled, but we're still waiting to see the full scale, right? Because you got to let the data come in. You can't jump the gun and make assessments. But certainly we're introducing, there's two parts, right? One is awareness for this particular product, for the fact that we had original cheeseburgers available all day. And then the other side is what's the ongoing behavior that we can, try to anchor with folks. And then finally, we picked that most popular breakfast sandwich to be the third
to round out the
promotion
calendar.
As we go forward.
Nice.
So let's jump into the results and see what the heck happened around that original cheeseburger promotion. So the day part, we're pretty stoked about it. We saw a 28% increase in day part sales, 19% increase in total transactions. These are significant for us. It's significant for anyone, and it's information for us as well, because then we'll follow behavior after this. Guess who purchased any breakfast item more than once increased 0.34%. Again, it was quite low before. But so that's a significant increase. If it was 1.5, I think 1.5.
Yeah, 1.5, I think you said before.
Yeah, 0.34 is a nice little boost for us.
Yeah.
The other thing that we
meaningful
found
for 2 weeks of work, I should say, for a 2-week
11
promotion.
days.
Yeah,
for sure. The other thing we noticed, and it'll come up on this next slide when we get there, is that I saw that full price burgers and breakfast sandwiches, total units sold during that day part also increased. So you had this halo effect, which to me, as the marketer says, it supported awareness, because even if they're like, ooh, $1.99 cheeseburger, then they get there or they get on their app and they're like, oh my God, I had no idea that I could get anything on the menu at that time, or that they had this great breakfast sandwich. So let's go to the next slide. This I pulled out of the dashboard.
This looks like a Bikky snapshot. Yeah, this is a Bikky snapshot, dashboard snapshot.
It sure is. Two parts to this. One, what was really cool is, again, I said we were in our sort of onboarding phase with Bikky. So we're meeting with, we're meeting with Alan every other week right now, myself, our finance team, to learn about how to optimize what's in the Bikky dashboard. And I brought kind of the work that we did around with the data assistant, and then brought our results back to Alan to say, run these through and make sure this is all lining up. And what was really cool about it was, and again, we're kind of in pilot, we're pretty let's just learn. What we noticed was, oh yeah, we got to get our menu item groups tighter, because I pulled it all out of Brink, but there's still some finessing that we can do on our side to make it even sharper. So nothing was way off, but we could sharpen it to better utilize the data so obviously what data assistant's taking in, but also on the dashboards are taking in. That was so helpful for us. So I encourage anyone to do a little bit of a case study and then run it back through your partner at Bikky to really hone in and refine it, because it's such a giant team over there. Sorry about that. Okay, so let me just quickly point some things out here. Obviously, the original cheeseburger went up. You can see also in all these other categories, items that went up. The breakfast burger, our Walla Walla onion rings are seasonal, and we're like famous for our Walla Walla onion rings. But I didn't show the rest of the chart. But what's great about this chart that I pulled is it showed where the other burgers, our core menu burgers, went up. We also did see some cannibalization of our double cheeseburger. But not so much that the amount that everything went up. It was small. It was really a small amount that got cannibalized. But it showed me that either way, it was data. It's not all about, oh, this was a really successful campaign. It was more that I could actually go in and see what kind of cannibalization may have occurred. And because that's really important for all of us. So just the total data that we pulled and how we can use this platform as we go forward, I'm stoked about. I'm super excited.
I love it. What a fantastic case study. And I think just to round it out, as I switch back from screen sharing here, just to round it out, when you think about the amount of time it took you to go from asking those questions, getting that insight, pulling that data, coming up with the marketing plan, there's a significant amount of work there. I don't want to downplay that. Can you talk about maybe time to action or time to insight without the tool versus kind of with the tool, and what it would have taken maybe in the status quo or pre-Bikky world?
Well, here's how it worked, because the way that our CEO works is like, I want it in place like literally in 2 weeks, like, or next week. Like, get this going.
That's why you're launching menu items on Saturdays, like you told me yesterday.
We probably would have done the original cheeseburger just from our experience here. We know that. But I don't know that we would have been able to. We would have just been like, that stuck. Let's do that. Not that bad. For me with this, it was amazing. I literally got sucked into the black vortex of data. And I was probably here till like 7 o'clock at night, because it was everything I found was so exciting. And next day presented a plan, like, because again, if you're an experienced marketer, the tools, the practices of moving people into action, again, it's not necessarily rocket science if you know your consumer base. So then I whipped up a plan. We checked food cost. Our CFO checked food cost on what I was wanting to offer. We made some adjustments on the promo price. Got it in front of the CEO literally within like 48 hours. We were done. Wow. It was that fast.
Wow.
And then we were off to the races.
Wow. And I think something you shared with me on the prep call too, that you said was like, I don't think you give yourself enough credit. You say I'm just a marketer, but I think you're a fantastic marketer and great at what you do.
Oh, thank you.
But the thing that I think the piece that stuck out to me when we were prepping for this, where you're like, I would need help from finance or help from somebody else on the tech side to pull the data to help me understand this. And you're like, I just did this as a marketer, was kind of the way you framed it. I thought that was really impactful as well.
Yeah, for sure. So simple.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, Stacey, thank you for the fantastic case study. If y'all have questions for Stacey, please drop them in the bottom right here. We're going to go for another, call it 20 minutes or so probably here. But I want to pull John on the stage now. John is the VP of Technology. Thanks. You can stay, Stacey, if you want. You don't have to hop off. We're going to need you back here anyway in a bit.
No, I'm still here. I'm just giving John a shine.
Fair enough. But John, VP of Technology at Robeks. Pleasure to have you here as well. Would love, same question that I had for Stacey, talk about Robeks, the brand, why you love the brand, what you're all about, and we'll go from there. So.
All right. Well, thanks, Avi. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Robeks is a premium fresh juice and smoothie concept. We've been around for coming up on 3 decades now, believe it or not.
Wow.
And so, so we have over 100 locations from coast to coast. 98% of them are franchised. And so we have 3 corporate stores, all in the Southern Cal area. And so, like Stacey was talking about, I think you and I have been discussing Bikky and getting Bikky on board with Robeks for close to 2 years. I mean, we just see each other several times during the year, and for 2 years.
So many conferences.
And I kept saying, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. And it finally came a time that we really needed to understand who our customers were beyond the loyalty program.
Yeah.
And we do have a very robust loyalty program. 26% of our customers are loyalty
Great.
members.
Yep.
And but we wanted to understand the other 3/4 of our customers. And so it was time for Bikky, and we implemented you guys over a year ago, I believe, and
Yep.
we hit the ground running, and it's been great ever since. I mean, I think when we first implemented Bikky, we did a couple of menu changes to our bowls and recipes, and kind of found pretty quickly that we needed to kind of make minor adjustments to the bowl recipes, and we did that eventually. And this year we have a big initiative in rolling out 5 new food items. That's an
Mhm.
extension to our current food program, and we're finding Bikky to be worth every penny that we spend on it, because it's
I
just been
appreciate it.
giving us some great data beyond the beyond relying heavily on the percent of mix, which is very important, and we'll continue to do that. But it's
Yeah.
given us insights that we can actually make decisions more confidently.
I love something I've been thinking. I thought about this earlier today, but the PMix is like the most political report in the restaurant business, because
Yeah,
2 people can look at the same data and have different opinions. And so it's just like one of those things where it's like you need one level deeper maybe to break the tie and really understand what's underlying sort of that top line sale number, or that PMix number. Something that I think has always impressed me about how you guys at Robeks operate is 100 units, 98% franchise, but supremely lean from a corporate support center standpoint. I think intentionally so, because you want to run a profitable, growing business, and you want to always do what's best for your franchisees. And I think that speaks to the food program with avocado toast, and now the expansion. Can you talk a little bit about, what does support look like? What does the support center team look like? How are people staffed across your team, across marketing, et cetera? And then we can dive in, because I think Data Assistant has really unlocked your ability to, I would say, with that lean team, move even faster in some of these initiatives that you're talking about.
yeah, it really has. So our support center consists of about less than 20 people in our office, and
Wow.
so we're across the spectrum. That includes real estate development, franchisee recruitment, and then most importantly, supporting our franchisees.
Yep.
And so we do run lean, but we're all pretty strong, and we're doing pretty good as a cohesive group.
Yep.
And so bringing in Bikky, it's just like, all right, who has time to be the data analysis on this? And so um, no
Put
one
it to your
raised their
job
hands,
description.
and so I was elected unofficially to do that, and happy to do so, because once you dive into it, it's just like you kind of get yourself lost in the details there. So
Yeah.
but what we find early on is that not only it's a great tool for marketing, it's a great tool for business analytics, understanding who our customers are, like I said before, and then understanding and optimizing our menus. And so
Yeah.
that's where it's becoming more powerful for us. Being
Yeah.
being such a small team, anytime we do a food rollout such as this, we could course correct in a shorter period of time than most other national brands. And because of that, we really didn't want to wait the 90 days it took to get those metrics out of Bikky early on when we first had the platform. And so Bikky was great working with us, and now we're able to turn that, um, uh, narrow down that date range for us, so we can get the reorder rates, the retention rates in a shorter period of time. So if we do need to make a pivot, or we do need to make a change early on, we could do that.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about the food, like maybe take a step back for us and talk about the food program? Because I think avocado toast was something that y'all introduced or tested maybe about a year ago. And that has done very well. I think that we've seen through some of the data in Bikky. And then talk a little bit about maybe the 5 new menu items and the expansion that you're doing with the food program.
Yeah, so about 2 years ago, we did roll out the our line of toast, premium toast, avocado and egg toast, and they've been successful since day one. So that's kind of the level that we're looking at for the new food items that we just recently rolled out. It's been in our stores for over 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
This week is our official launch marketing period for these 5 new food items that we're calling harmonious bites. And we feel like they're a great complement to our core items, which is our smoothies, juices, and bowls. And so our goal is to kind of boost up our check averages. We need to
Yep.
get our check averages higher. And so we think these new food items are going to do that.
Yeah.
And so what I did early on is I created a scorecard for each of the menu items. And not only am I putting in that percentage of mix on that scorecard, but I'm also bringing in the menu item ratings directly from our customers. That comes from our guest sentiment platform. So I have that. And then I'm putting in the Bikky data. I'm putting in, what's the percentage of acquisition of new customers because of these items?
Yep.
What is the frequency? Are they reordering these particular menu items? These are data that we've never had before. What is their contribution to the check average? What are the pairings? What are they most popular with alongside? So if we want to do a valued meal combo program, we can do that, confidently knowing what items these pair with.
Yeah.
Well, so that's
I
what
love
I
it.
do.
Yeah.
And before Data Assistant came on board, I was doing this manually, and it didn't take me too long, but it took me several hours every week. It's a weekly
Yeah.
report that I do.
Yeah.
And then since Data Assistant was released, it's really cut down my time on it. It's just a matter of moments, just typing in the information that I need, and the output could be a listing of the data that I requested, and
Yeah.
I can export it into an Excel. It just makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. First of all, I think you deserve a tremendous amount of credit. Again, like being basically the main data analyst resource, again, for a group that supports 98 franchise locations, especially given all the things you oversee as VP of technology. I know your hand is in many different pies, and there are many ways in which you support both the corporate team and as well as the franchise team. And so I think, just giving you kudos for not just owning the product internally, but then taking it a step further and still consistently executing on some of those initiatives to grow the brand, to put more money in your franchisees' pockets in a way that is significantly faster than how you were doing it before. So
Yeah.
I want to
Well,
give you a shout out for that, for sure.
Thanks.
I think there's something that you shared with me as well about when you're talking with franchisees, maybe about performance or data and Data Assistant. I think you and Stacey did a great job of talking about the menu related impact and the questions there. Can you talk a little bit about maybe working with franchisees more closely, or store level performance, and the role that Data Assistant has had on that part of your job?
Well, I think Data Assistant is an awesome tool because it's easy to use, and because of that, it's an easy entry into the Bikky platform.
Yep.
So our operations team is awesome, and they're out in the field constantly talking to our franchisees. They really are, face to face with our franchisees every single day.
Yeah.
So I provided the tool of Data Assistant to our operations team without having to train them as to how to use the platform. So now they can actually go into Data Assistant, get information in real time, and then walk through the doors of a store and know what the performance of that store is right away. So they can understand
Wow.
how their sales channels are doing, who are the guest segments, what segments are doing well, and what segments are kind of lagging behind. So just knowing that information, they can kind of provide some kind of direction as to how they can kind of correct that direction as well. So I think Data Assistant is awesome, that it's easy to use, and it's a good way to get other departments that may be hesitant to use the platform to get into that platform to start using.
Yeah, I love, and the way we've always thought about Bikky is sort of this like shared language or shared source of truth of understanding across the different teams of what's happening inside the business. So I love that you are taking that step further, and you're like, let me get other people on the team actually involved in adopting this and seeing the same data that I'm seeing, honestly, and then obviously using it in ways that specifically make them more impactful in their own roles, even if it doesn't necessarily overlap with the questions that you're specifically answering. So
Yep.
amazing. Well, cool. I think that's a fantastic summary. If you think about maybe non-traditional use cases, and I think the one that comes to mind is something around packaging that you were talking about. So if you think about like a non-traditional use case for this specific feature, again, like just showcasing the breadth of the things that you are specifically responsible for, and to the breadth of how the tool helps you execute those broad-based duties. Can you walk us through that last packaging example?
Yeah, so I think where it dawned on me that data assistant is going to really be a lifesaver in time and resources for me is every year we do an analysis of our packaging, and a lot of questions come up from both our supply chain department and our marketing department. Questions like, what is the average number of bowls in a bowl order? So everybody thinks that's a simple question to ask, but it really isn't. You have to pull data from different platforms, and so and we also want to know for packaging for delivery and packaging for in store,
Yeah.
and then it has to be over the last year because it is seasonal. So we sell more bowls during the summer than we do in the off seasons, and so it took a lot of my time to get the answer. And so when I provide the answer, then they come back with a different question, and it's just like, oh my god, because they think it's an easy response to get
Right.
those questions,
Right.
and it's not.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, I'm going to try data assistant because Bikky has this information in it. And sure enough, just type in this one sentence, and there's popped up the results within just a matter of minutes. So I'm like, all right, this is awesome.
Yeah.
This is where I'm going to go. For every time they ask me the questions, data assistant is going to help me. I'm not going to tell these guys how much time it
Yeah.
saves me. I want them to think that I'm working overtime to get them the data, but
Well, no, now
it
now you're
really
just
is a
more
lifesaver.
productive in all the other things. Now that's it. Now you're
Exactly.
just executing better. Amazing, amazing.
True.
I love that. Well, I love that because I think I shared this with you yesterday, where um, this is something that, again, like you and Stacey both have. Stacey, if you want to hop back on too, this is something where you both have way more experience in this business than I do, and the people watching this way more experience in this business than I do. My only exposure is as I've been sort of my journey in building the company, and I keep learning. I think from operators such as yourselves, there are all these nuances into what matters in the guest experience, and there are all these little touches that you are constantly. It's like an endless game. You are constantly tweaking, optimizing, refining all these little nuanced ways of improving the guest experience. Because I think I said to you yesterday, John, where if someone is walking out with a bag and they need two bowls or they need two bags and they got to carry a bowl and only three bowls fit in the bag, and like however you think about perfectly optimizing the packaging of your product, whether it's in store or delivery form factor, just shows one, the level of care, but also two, how actually hard it is to make those kinds of decisions without good quality data that you can access reliably and quickly and make decisions on quickly. So I'm very grateful again, like to have operators like y'all who are leveraging the platform and pushing the envelope of what's possible with a tool like this. So amazing. I really appreciate again both of you sharing those stories. We are about we're scheduled to go for another 3 to 5 minutes. For those of you that are still watching live, if you want to drop in a question, please feel free to do so in the question dialog box at the bottom. If not, I almost want to turn it over to Stacey or John while I have you here for a couple minutes. Did anything the other person share in terms of their use case with Data Assistant, or maybe even the conversation we were having offline pre-show around kiosks, menu boards? Is there anything you want to ask each other about the ways in which you've been using the platform from the examples that have been shared? If the answer is no, that's okay. I'm kind of
It
putting you on
was
the spot.
really, yeah, it was no, it was really interesting. And you didn't hear me talk about it yesterday because then I went and got more data. But John was talking about cannibalization. And I was like, oh crap, yeah, that's definitely a data point we should pull. Oh, okay. Well, I'll go in and check that out. But it was so like these kinds of conversations with, sort of our colleagues in the field are so helpful in terms of just shining a light where I was like, oh yeah, I missed that corner. I better go check that out. It isn't so much a question for John. It's just a thank you for bringing that forward, because then I was like, right, because I'll get those questions, with my colleagues here, like, well, yeah, but if we got this many more sales, were we taken away from these sales? And
Right.
so that was it was just a great data point. And then as you were talking, John, I was writing down some of the things that you were putting into Data Assistant, because oftentimes I'm coming really from a brand and a marketing standpoint, and I have a breadth of knowledge, but just inside of the contribution, there was something in there you were talking about one of the things I'm so curious about in the AI assistant is the thing that my CEO asks all the time is, sure, we might have a loss leader, but then what, like in terms of every time that item is on a check, what's the overall, like, what other items are they buying? What's the contribution that, like, those
Well,
kinds of places where you were looking?
Yeah, those metrics are very important because, for our new food items, we want them to be an add-on to our current smoothie, juice, and bowl order. So we want to make sure that the number of items per order stays pretty high, and that the average order values increases as well, so that they're not replacing a core item, and they're not replacing our currently popular toast items.
I was feverishly writing too, because it's a consistent conversation, because you can go round and round about a loss leader without the data. And he really wants that information. And so again, that was another prompt, like, yes, that's another way to use AI that we literally have no way of knowing. You'd have to go manually check by check to even have any sense.
And that's where those kind of metrics kind of supersede the percentage of mix as well, because it may not be highlighted on the percent of mix. It may be kind of mediocre, but when you see that it brings in new customers, or you see that it's a popular add-on, then you're like, well, this is an item that's worth keeping.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. That's so cool. I get all excited about it.
Love it. Love it. Well, we don't have any other questions in the chat, so I'm happy to leave it here. Stacey, John, thank you so much again for taking time out of your busy days, scheduling some time to share your experience with Data Assistant. I genuinely, like I said, appreciate it. We actually did get a question. Hold on. This one I will answer live. It's not as relevant, but I appreciate the question. I'll answer that one offline. But appreciate you both being here. Thank you so much. And look forward to seeing you again and hearing more wonderful stories about Data Assistant. If you're watching this live, thank you for being here as well. If you're seeing it on demand, appreciate you. And yeah, that's it. Thanks so much, everybody.
Awesome. See ya.
Take care. Bye-bye.